Grit, tenacity, and resolution are all attributes to describe 15-year-old Erline Christopherson Phillips. In the 1960s, women faced a number of challenges, and for a teenage girl to decide to swim the 22-mile length of Lake Tahoe and not give up after 2 failed attempts inspired this Lake Tahoe local to learn more. Thank you to Denise Haerr for introducing us to Erline to learn more about her amazing story.
Hi, I'm Erline Christopherson Phillips, and I want to tell you the story of my first viewing of Lake Tahoe and my desire to swim the lake when I was 8 years old, and I saw the lake, and it was so beautiful and so soft to swim in. I've always loved swimming. Then when I got home, I told my dad that I wanted to swim the lake, and Daddy said, "Okay, when you're ready, just tell me." And he thought I'd just forget about it. I was a little 8-year-old. And Daddy said, "When you're ready, I will help you." Well, I joined the racing team and I swam races, but I always had the desire in the back of my head that I wanted to go the length of that lake and to swim out in the middle where you could see the changing color. Of course, I found when I was swimming that glass light water has a very, very big current. And so when I was 14, I told Dad I was ready to start training. I didn't want to race anymore. So we went to my coach and told him. He said, "A woman can't do that." He said, "We can't coach you." That was in 60 and 61 both. So Dad said he would coach me. Now my dad doesn't even know how to swim. My coach did let me, he'd mark off a lane in the pool and I would swim back and forth for hours at a time during the day. And then we went to the Russian River and I would swim, and then the Columbia River, and I would swim against the current. So I would stay in one spot but swim for hours. And we swam even when there was snow on the ground so I could get used to the cold. That's all we knew what to do. When we were getting close to times, I needed to get used to the air, the altitude. I needed to get used to the lake itself. And so we came up here for a month, and my mom would get in a kayak and I would get in the water and swim out into the lake far as I could go until I was so tired, and then I'd turn around and come back. We went over to Walt Little to ask him if there were any rules that you couldn't swim the lake, and of course everybody said it's impossible, a woman can't do that. But Walt Little was very supportive, and he said that maybe we could go to the Coast Guard station and ask them. We went over to the Coast Guard station. They said, "We can't give you permission, but the lake is so big, we won't find you." So that gave us our okay to get ready for a date. And in the meantime, we were trying to figure out what I was to eat across and what kind of grease, because none of the books I read would tell you what to grease with and what to eat. We didn't have sports and energy drink. The grease is to keep you from getting waterlogged because you're in the water for so many hours. And it's supposed to help from the cold, which...
Did it?
Not really. My mom and my dad were working on what to do. And my mom would boil a roast until she got the pure broth out of it so I could have my protein with that. And then she made brown sugar water for the energy part. And my dad decided that the axle grease that he would put on the wheels of his hay baler would be a good grease to cover me with. And so on the practice runs, they would put that all over me just to see if my body could take it and if it was good. This is a picture of me getting greased up and ready to go in the water. This is a little nylon swimming suit, and this is all the grease on my legs. My dad, with a cigarette in his mouth, is greasing me up. And there's my mom and my sister, and we had to learn how to drink in the water. And I would get it all over my face. I had a little Bear Squeeze bottle. I would get out there and you would turn over and try to swim and drink, and it would just go all over. So you wouldn't get it. We had to practice that quite a bit. But I didn't drink much on the swim. We didn't know that you've got to take in water or something every few hours. I didn't drink. Mom said I didn't drink more than half a cup the whole day.
Was that part of the problem?
Yeah. Second time and the third time I drank more. Well, Dad wouldn't tell me ahead of time. He would wake me up in the morning and say, okay, we're going. And it would be about 2 o'clock in the morning when we took off from Bayview and we were going into County Village, what our line was. Dad had a little outboard motorboat that sat 3 people. We didn't have GPSs and stuff like that. So he guided by a spot on a mountain on the other side of the lake, which I guess we didn't go real straight. And halfway through on that first swim, I got cramps. And then Dad just said, lay there and rest for a while. So I just floated for a little while and got it all gone. But we came out of those. I would hit currents. They would realize it with the boat and then push me, and I would push farther and farther and harder, swim harder to get through the currents. I think we were about 13 or 14 hours in, and we hit these big storms. I mean, massive storms. The waves were so high that Dad's boat would be down here and I would be down here on the other side, and he couldn't even see me. And it was starting to get dusk. I was 3/4 of a mile from shore when the Coast Guard came out and pulled me out. And then they had to bring Dad's boat in because it was full of water and ready to capsize. They were trying to bail out the water, but they couldn't keep it bailed out. It was one of Tahoe's angry storms. Yes. She was not going to be beat that time.
And you were 15?
15 then, and I'd been in the water 18 hours. It was a good practice run, sorta, and it showed me how strong the lake is. And I still had that desire that I wanted to do it. So we went home and I started training. I did more in the McCullummy River, swimming against the current, pushing against the current. And I came up to Tahoe earlier, myself and my girlfriend, Mary DiMartini. She was sort of my coach. Yeah. She paced me and she worked me. We would swim up to Emerald Bay, around the point, around the island, and back down. So those were my practice runs. I love the island out there in Emerald Bay, and to swim around it and be able to watch and see all the rocks underneath, so clear and so beautiful. And then sometimes they take me out into the lake and just put me out in the deep. So they were just building the Keys Marina. The marina wanted me to swim into them. So we left from Kings Beach and swam into the marina. And we thought maybe going the other direction would help on the second time. And that was in 62. Then they had a big boat with us, but it had been advertised and there were so many people out there and boats going around. It kept the lake choppy instead of smooth like glass. It just seemed like I was fighting rough water most of the time. Within 16 hours, and I had gotten 3 miles from the Keys. And when they told me 3 miles and the storms were starting to come up, I just couldn't make the last, and I started to go down. My sister dove in and brought me back up and brought me to the boat. I guess it disheartened me when they told me I had 3 more miles to go, because I'd been in for so long and been fighting the choppiness. Or I just wasn't ready or as excited as I should have been. I was 16. So we went home and tried to regroup, and I practiced some more. And 3 weeks later, Dad said, you're going. So we came back up, and so that last time I was excited and it was fun. And we left from Camp Richardson real early in the morning. We tried to beat the storm, and I went straight up to Dollar Point. We were headed for Kings Beach. I was swimming about, I was just past Emerald Bay, and my leg gave out on me. They said my kneecap had slipped. And so I was swimming the rest of the way with one leg, but my arms were my strength anyways. My legs have never been my strength. My arms were my strength. So it didn't hinder that much. Wes Stetson had a seaplane that he would take tourists on rides around the lake, and he flew over us and said that Dad was following the outline of the lake instead of going in a straight line. So he straightened Dad out, and the lake was pure, the lake was glass, but we had lots of currents around the points there. But Mary got in with me, my friend that helped me, Mary DiMartini. When we got up towards Dollar Point, the storm started to kick in, and Dad said, Dollar Point is the north edge of Tahoe. You've got to understand, you said you always wanted to swim all the way to the north of Lake Tahoe. He says, you go in here at the edge of the point. So I did, but the storms got so bad as I was swimming in, the boat had to go a quarter of a mile down Dollar Point. They said it was 18 miles, and it was 13 hours and 45 minutes. I was faster. I was much faster. I seemed more relaxed. I was older, just that year older. I had done it, and the swimming was just easy for me. It's always been easier for me to swim than to walk. But the lake, it's like silk material. It just wraps you up and makes you feel so comfortable, and it's so easy gliding. It's pure water, though, and it gives you no buoyancy. And Tahoe is so soft. It just was a dream. It was something I had to do. And I saw the lake, and I saw the beauty of it. And I said, I've got to go to the other side. We had newspapers from all over the world. And our coach retired. I was going to take over the team. And the city said I couldn't because a woman couldn't be a coach.
Even after swimming Lake Tahoe 3 times.
See, each time I've come up, I've always gotten to go over to the island and swim.
Yeah.
Because the clear water and to swim over and be able to look down to the bottom. This was a newspaper article from Lodi in 2003. They brought me back up to the lake and wanted to do an article on me. And this is at the edge at Camp Richardson. And my mom and I got in the water and underneath the water. First boat we had on that first swim.
Tiny boat. No wonder it had water in it.
Yeah, it was swamped. It was swamped. They were bailing the water out when the Coast Guard came in 2002 when I went back to swim, and when they put me in the water.
Awesome. 13 hours, 37 minutes, it says.
Yeah.
And the first time was 18 hours.
Yeah.
So you got significant.
Because I fought storms for 5 hours. Letter from the Navy aircraft carrier wrote a letter and said they were all glued to the radio listening to my swim. And I got letters from the governor. I got an invitation from 17 magazine, which was the big thing then. Outdoorsman. We went over there and he wanted a picture to put outside of the store. And he gave me a swimming suit.
Yes.
The Catalina.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 80 years old now. So 72 years ago, I fell in love with the lake. And now coming up here and just getting to put my feet in the water and feel the warmth of the water once more. It's magic. It's wonderful. And I'm still in love with this lake. It's got a hold on me. It's my favorite spot in the world. I'm very happy to know that I'm welcome here and to have made a little mark on the world in the most beautiful place in the world.